I'd like to call to order the September 25th meeting of the Clive City Council. Will the clerk please call roll?
Mayor Edwards.
Here.
Council members Weaver,
Here.
McCoy,
Here.
Klein,
Here.
Hawker,
Here.
and Susan is not here.
If you all would rise, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up, we have the agenda. I'm not aware of any changes.
Approval.
Second. Motion and second to approve the agenda. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The agenda is approved. Next up, we have our citizens presentation. This is the opportunity for anyone to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda. If so, please approach the podium and identify yourself. In the meantime, Pete will check to see if there's anyone online.
For those online, if you'd like to get our attention in the council chamber, you can use the raise hand function on your Zoom screen. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a set of emojis. Click on the react button. One of the choices will be raise hand.
And while Pete checks on that, just reminding everyone in the chambers that we follow the pillars of character counts in all that we do. Anyone, Pete?
No, Your Honor.
Very good. We'll move on to our presentation for this evening. And Jeff.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. With us this evening is Tom Trigstad, the director of the Clive Running Festival, and he has some money for you all this evening. So good news to report. I just want to thank Tom. He's been doing this for many years, the Clive Running Festival, especially this past year with all the construction delays and loops and everything else that he navigated. So Tom's got a few words for you.
Yeah. Just wanted to quickly say a few things. Tom Trick said, I teach at Indian Hills. I'm a seventh grade social studies teacher. I've been coaching, I coach girls and boys cross country at Valley and boys track at Valley for the last 23 years on my 30 years of teaching. I am a Clive resident. I live on the west side of the interstate. Can't wait for get this trail to get reopened. So speaking of that trail, I'm excited to give some money and hoping that we can do some things, continue to develop the trail. We're hoping for maybe, a new water fountain or a bench. That's been our goal in the Clive Running Festival for over the years. I'm I think the fourth director ever. I've been doing this since 2015 as the race director. Ed Bell was before me, who still helps out with the bookkeeping, and Kurt and Nancy Hoig did it forever. And they still come around and help me out on race day. I'm not even sure what year it was, but in the last summer, 7-8 years ago, 9 years ago, that race used to be in June, but now we combine it with the Clive Festival. It's been a great partnership. The last bunch of years with Jeff have been outstanding. He calls me up all the time and we connect to make sure anything he can do to help out. And so I appreciate the collaboration. I love that it's just an extra way to give back to the community. I do this as I don't make any money off it. I never have. It's my way of giving back to the running community, but I love that it's connected to the actual Clive Festival now, and we hope to continue that collaboration here to come. I have a $5,000 check that we hope will go to the Greenbelt and the trail system.
Well, thank you very much. I think we want to get a nice picture, so I'll come down.
As we're doing that, the corporate games has been included in this event as well. So Kyle Wagner and that group there's a couple hundred of those runners as well that have contributed to over 700 runners each year. So
yeah, I had some numbers. I apologize for that. I got excited to talk about the trail. So where a lot of this goes is Kyle's done an outstanding job. Our numbers used to be smaller. It used to be a day where there was 10, 15 races on a Saturday. Then COVID hit, and now there's not nearly as many. But the plan was with him bringing these corporate games people, Jeff or John or whoever works at principal will bring his wife or their spouse and kids. And we're seeing a lot more of that and making it a community event. It's one of the few races where I welcome strollers and kids and walkers. And so again, the whole point of it is as for a community event.
That was pretty good. Come on, let's look at foot. If I could have Council Member Jenkins, it's this side.
Sure. Sorry.
Get out of the way.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks again, Tom.
That's a great way to begin the meeting. Next up, we have the consent items.
Move approval. I'd like to take 30 off that for further consideration.
Second.
As amended. Motion and a second to approve the consent with the deletion of item 30 for further discussion. Any further discussion? If not, will the council please vote, and will the clerk please post that vote?
I can't see my screen, so I need to vote audibly, and I'm a yes.
All right, well, that passes by a vote of 5-0. Now on to item 30 on the Bravo grant.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mayor. You know, I know we talked a little bit about this before on the listening field replacing the Art Along the Trail project. I don't remember coming to a solid decision on this, so kind of walk me through the process of where we are right now, Richard, if you would, please.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've been talking about with staff as well as the Parks and Public Art Board is should the Art Along the Trail annual exhibition continue in its current form? And so when this opportunity came up for a little bit different kind of take, we thought this would be a good opportunity to explore to see if maybe this would be a good replacement for it, or we want to go back to that kind of annual art exhibit where we rent the sculptures at the 9 locations across the trail each year. So really the way we're looking at this now is this is maybe a 1 year. Let's see if it makes a difference or the community wants to go back to what we've done in the past. So we're kind of looking at it as an experiment at this point to see if people want us to keep the Art Along the Trail or they like something like this. So really just an experiment if we are able to secure the grant.
Did we get any public feedback that they'd like to see something different along the trail?
Yeah, we've been getting some feedback from the board members on the Parks, Recreation and Public Art Board, just to see if there's something different that we could do. We've also been exploring maybe some different ideas. One of the ideas we've been exploring, maybe the possibility is kind of, I guess a lot of communities, you've seen them like Psy, they have lots of Psys up in Ames. Maybe we could do some sort of go and get sponsors. So we're looking at some opportunities to try some different things because at the time when this first started, it was very innovative in the community. Now, a lot of the other cities have copied the exact same thing. So we're competing with the same artists every year for those pieces. So West Des Moines and Urbandale, some of those things like that. So we're wanting to try to find a way to maybe shake it up and get people interested in different types of art along the trail again. So that's kind of the hope with this is an experiment. And if it works, maybe you try something else next year. It just depends.
I think it'd be interesting to, as we incorporate into the newsletter too, getting resident feedback on this project too, as much as possible. Tell me a little bit more about the listening field. I read through the memo and looked at it, but what exactly is it and what does it accomplish and how do people or citizens utilize it?
Yeah, so what it'll be is a series of signs with a QR code that we placed at different locations along the trail. Think probably similar distance as the Art Along the Trail pieces have been done in the past. Then they would be able to do is come up to that sign, use their QR code camera on there, and it would have different sounds that what you would hear in these areas here that maybe you don't necessarily hear all the time. Get people to kind of stop and experience it, even though you're out in the middle of it and those sounds are there, on what could be more intentional of listening to what's out there. So it's really an opportunity to stimulate what people are hearing and be more intentional about that. So it's a little bit different take. So it's not a huge installation out there, but opportunity to use art in a different way.
Well, I agree with that. I think it's a great 1 year type of experiment really to explore some of the different artistic endeavors out there. I know there's strong support for the current program out there. We'll just have to see what the citizens think about replacing that with this type of a program right there.
No, absolutely. We'll evaluate and we'll continue to ask questions and get feedback and see what people like or don't like and evolve again.
I would like to see that feedback. Thank you, Richard.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Richard? Otherwise, I'd entertain a resolution.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion second on original item 30 on the listening field. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote?
Yes.
And that passes by a vote of 5-0. We'll now move into our action items. First item would be our public hearing. Did we publish the appropriate public notice?
Public hearing notice was published in the Des Moines Register on September 8th, 2025.
Very good. Ryan?
Is this about windows?
No, no windows. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Tonight, I'm here to talk to you about our rental housing program and some of the enhancements that we've been discussing through the past year to kind of, I guess, make the program better, create some better education for our tenants and owners, and also really kind of take a deep dive into the program to make sure it is the right fit for Clive. Back in 2012 is when we started the rental housing program. We established these 4 bullet in red. These were our program goals. The goals haven't changed through the years of the program. Behind these goals, you'll notice some additional information that we provided to help you understand that these goals are being achieved. And we were recognized by the housing group, the discussion group, with doing a good job with that. So ensure safe and healthy housing, no reported serious injuries, fatalities, and in fact, there were 60% less violations provided on our second 6-year cycle from the first cycle. And a lot of those had to do with smoke detectors and some other rules that you all put in place with regards to requiring those batteries to be sealed type detectors. Prevents tenants or owners from removing the batteries from those. So thank you for that. Preserve housing stock. Right now in Clive, we have roughly 20% of our housing stock as rentals. And back when I was in front of you last fall to ask for a 1-year extension of the existing program, some of you folks asked what percentage that would kind of correlate with other cities. So I did a little bit of homework. Altoona's at 40%, Ankeny's at 45%, Grimes is 32%, Johnston 24%, Urbandale 19%, Waukees at 48%, and West Des Moines at 42% of their housing
48%
stock.
of rentals in the housing
Out
market?
of all housing, that is the percentage of rentals in their community.
That includes apartments? Is that
Yes.
accurate? All right.
Yeah.
Well, that
What was Urbandale, Ryan?
that makes sense.
19%.
Makes sense.
48 is a big.
In addition, one of the goals was to protect vulnerable tenants. And affordability is a big item with that. We all decided back in 12 that we wanted this program to charge enough to cover the program costs. And in doing so, we had to spread out the inspections and other things in order to make that happen. But as those fees are passed down to the tenants, it's roughly less than $3 a month on the tenant with regards to our programming expenses. One other goal is to maintain neighborhood property values. The assessed value of rental properties has increased roughly 3 to 4%, which is fairly consistent with just residential housing in general. So we feel like we've done a decent job with the rental housing and maintaining those neighborhood property values with the program. Rental housing by the numbers. This is currently a map showing all of our rental properties. As you can see from 2018, which was the stop of our last program cycle. I'm sorry, it was the start of our last program cycle. We increased roughly 275 rental units in our city. And you can see the breakdown over on the left of what we have available for rentals in our city: apartments, condos, duplexes, single family housing rentals, and then also townhomes. And then the map just kind of demonstrates, where those are spread out through the city. Any questions? No? Okay. I mentioned the rental housing discussion group. We put that together to really take a deep dive into our current program. We evaluated program functions and administration of the program. We also looked into codes and inspections. And then also we evaluated what we are doing for tenant and owner education through the program and what are some opportunities to do better in that arena. Thank you to Councilmember Klein for being on that. He was much help and very appreciated that he was there. We had two BCAB members, Marcia Munger, I want to recognize her, and then Lincoln Pierce was also on that study group. And then we had some rental owners available too, to just discuss their end of kind of the program. We had Craig Ellingson, Scott Cowley, Jan Harden, and Lee Burkle, all rental owners in the city. Craig and Scott, they're involved with Glacier Properties, so they have a lion's share of the rental properties in our city. Very generous for them to donate their time and be part of that board and hear us out and provide some really good information to us as well. So during the program meetings, we took a look at those three topics. Everyone thought that we were doing a pretty darn good job with the bones or the structure, the administration, the program functions of the rental housing program. So what that means is we're going to keep the rental registration renewal every 2 years. We're proposing to keep owner self-inspection with acknowledgement form. And what that is, we provide the inspection report to the owner. They would go through and evaluate just like our inspectors do. They go through and check the box to make sure that all of those items are compliant and call if they have any questions. So they are required to do that once every 2 years, to go through that and have that inspection report available to us if requested. And then our fees are based on staff time involved. There's, again, no financial impact on the city, and you'll see the fee breakdown here in a little bit. The audit inspection by staff every 6 years, that's roughly 312 inspections that we do on an annual basis. And we try to get through every unit within 6 years. We are getting through every unit within 6 years of the program cycle. Now that's about 3 times of a gap than some of our local cities. Some of our local cities are doing every couple of years. But again, back to the program goals, we're finding out we're effective. You know, we got 60% less violations. We've got no real life safety issues going on in a majority of our rentals. So 6 years has been working here in Clive. And then again, that's where we're at right now. Basically, we're doing a housing program review after every 6 years. We feel that was sufficient. And again, these rules can change based on what y'all feel would be best for the city of Clive. The group and staff did offer up a few minor enhancements that we would recommend putting into the code. This was brought up. Some of these questions were policy questions that we asked the group, and some of the feedback we were able to put together into this new program. Require all rentals to be registered, inspected. This includes short-term rentals. We felt if we're going to allow somebody to rent in the city and operate a business in the city, we feel that we need to at least verify that they're doing it in a safe manner and providing a safe house dwelling unit in order to make that rental possible. The old program said if you're going to rent for 90 or more days in a calendar year, then you have to join our rental program. Now we're saying if you're going to rent for 1 day or 31 days, you're going to be part of the program. Now, state handcuffs us a little bit. We're not allowed to charge for short-term rentals. And what that means is if you're going to rent for 30 or less days, and those are consecutive days in a calendar year, you're required to be part of the program, but we can't charge for our inspections or our registration fees to those short-term rentals. The group thought it'd be important to keep those in, so that's what we're recommending here tonight. In addition, some of the other enhancements were to provide an exception for host families supporting student live-in arrangements. You know, you may have some students that come stay with families during the summer months. You may have an organization that's paying for that programming, or maybe just that student is paying to stay with those folks. We felt it would be appropriate here in Clive if you've got a good stable family with a means to rent within our city. We felt like that program doesn't have to be part of our program. or that type of situation would not have to register with the program. Again, with the state codes, the inclusion of accessory dwelling units that we implemented in our city, we now have to include those in the rental code as well. So we included sections that would cover the accessory dwelling units in the rental capacity.
Right, on that one, does that include, or I think it would not, right? A family member staying in that accessory dwelling unit, if it's your mom or your daughter or that would not be a rental, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just
Yeah.
so if it's not attached to your family, then you'd have to go through that rental
Yeah.
program.
If you remember a few years ago, they kind of took the family definition away and prohibited cities from
Right.
setting rental standards based on relationships.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Um,
The state legislators totally know best what we should do in our own city and they've made a lot of rules.
Yeah.
Dictate that.
But to answer your question, no. If it's immediate family staying in that, they would not have to register in our program.
Okay.
It was also recommended to increase the fees to cover the program expenses. So what that means to our city, and our ownership, of rental, anticipated staff vehicle expenses right around $76,000 every 2 years. Estimated revenue, with the new fees would be right around that to cover our expenses. That narrows down to roughly $2.81 per month impact on that tenant. As those fees typically are passed down through those rental fees. So $3 increase, we were at $65 for a single family home, townhome condo. It's going up to $68. And then the duplex and apartments with multiple units, those are done a little bit differently. Those also increased the $3 as well. And every second unit or consecutive unit after the first unit would be $1.50 more, half of the $3. Okay, the codes and inspection portion of it. We discussed a lot of this within our group that met as well. Some of these were, again, policy questions that were asked of the group. And some of these that you're going to see on here tonight were discussions of the group and resolutions of the group, but some of them we felt as staff, we needed to do a better job. And it was tough because some of the owners within the group, of course, didn't want tighter enforcement or sanctions, but through the last 2 rental cycles, we found out that we've got to have more tools in that box to address some of these one-off situations. So first off, stay current with the International Property Maintenance Code. So part of this presentation is tonight is to move from the 21 to the 24 codes. And real quick, it's very simple. There's very, very few major changes in that adoption. In fact, one of the major changes was just to allow our inspectors a little bit more flexibility to require a smoke alarm replacement if it's not functioning correctly, or maybe it's past its deadline. You know, the code doesn't say the code used to not say that if a smoke detector was expired, you had to replace it. Well, they added some of these small little pieces of verbiage in there that will help our inspector with that. We've had situations where an inspector goes and pushes the test button and nothing happens. They come back a couple minutes later and push it and it goes off, and they do it again a couple minutes later, it doesn't work. Well, to me, that's a faulty detector. It's not testing properly. So some of these easy adds to the International Property Code are really to our benefit. It also added some things like accessibility. If you have a housing unit that is required to be accessible, or it is accessible right now, handicap accessible, you've got to recognize that and keep that accessible. You don't get to just remove that. Really, that's about it from the International Property Maintenance Code. So we would recommend for BSEG's schedule, the scoring system of BSEG's, just to go ahead and incorporate the 24 codes into this. And then our local amendments that we're going through right now, so. The group also wanted to have definitions of the different types of rentals and the occupancy restrictions of those rentals. Now, I don't want to go too deep into the use of these different residential homes or buildings, because that is more of a zoning compliance thing, of which city staff is currently working on that use provision to tighten that up to include like boarding houses, lodging houses, and tighten up the use requirements of where those can and cannot be used throughout our city. What we did in the rental housing code is we defined those uses. So if they are allowed, whether it be through a special use permit or something other, they'll present that later. If they are allowed in a residential neighborhood, what building or safety codes need to be followed. So the rental code specified what codes need to be followed. Yes, you got to follow the rental code, but if you're going to be a boarding house and you're allowed to have that in a residential district or a lodging house, you've got to follow either the IBC or the IRC to make that happen. Again, the IBC is more commercial code. Boarding houses fall in line with a little more commercial code. So you're gonna have sprinkler systems and other things in an R occupancy that would be like a boarding house.
And how do they define that boarding house, or what was the other one you?
Lodging house?
Lodging house, because I could see that being a slippery slope, right, too, on the definition of why my place isn't just a rental house versus some of the issues we're having now, right? With
Yep.
6 people, different
Yep.
people living in it.
So we do have a definition in the rental code. That definition that we're using in the rental code is going to marry up to what is in the zoning code. And we did that on purpose, and we wrote our own definition for the city. But it is directly in line with what is in the International Building Code, with a few terms that were changed just to better understand or have a better, I guess, definition for our purposes of enforcement. Basically, what it comes down to is if you're in a single family neighborhood, after this code is adopted, if you're in a single family neighborhood, you're going to be allowed to have one lease inside that residential structure. Boarding houses are, if you wanted, if you desire to have more than one lease, if you want to have multiple leases where people are renting by the room and you have multiple leases in that house, then you're going to be a boarding house. That's per our definition. Again, the state handcuffed us and said that we can no longer regulate based on family, so we got to do it based on a unit now, whether they're related or not. And our best means of enforcement on that is that single lease. Again, we've got some enhancements on the enforcement side of things now to be able to handle some of that single lease situations.
Ryan, we were all in college one day and, or somewhere like that. And you get a lease and then you rent to 10 of your friends yourself. And so I've got one single lease and now I make a deal with 10 people to break that house up. I mean, I know I'm going down a rabbit hole, but I just see stuff like this happening. And then what's our enforcement mechanism for that? When there's only one lease, it's one lease, right?
Yeah, you're very true in what you're saying.
We add a
I
provision
think
about
you'll-
subleasing?
I'm sorry.
Could you add a provision about subleasing?
Yeah, if you
It is,
sublease.
it is not allowed.
But what if I'm not
It
contracting?
is not allowed.
I'm not contracting with these guys,
Yep.
right?
You get one single lease. And we talked about this at a previous council meeting, but that single lease, whoever the tenant is living there, who has the lease with the owner, that tenant is going to become the operator of that house. And they are going to be the captain of that house. That's our expectation. And you're going to find out we've got some enhanced tools for our box to use for those situations, Mike, that you're talking about, where maybe you don't have a sublease. Maybe you got just a buddy living with you and he's throwing you some cash. Okay. You still gotta follow the rules of engagement, which are the new codes that we're bringing out, and the enhancements are going to cover things like suspensions, rent abatement for maybe an owner who can't get that house under control. Or doesn't provide a major utility to that, you know, if they've got a break in the water line and it's taken weeks, rent abatement's a great tool for that. Owners or the tenants can take that money and go rent a hotel or do something else with it.
And I know we can't solve for everything, right? And we could chase this forever, trying to solve for all these one-offs. I mean, the easiest way is not to have the one-offs happen in the first place, but
Yeah.
because they're gonna continue to happen somehow, but then we're gonna continue to chase the solutions. And I hate to see that happen for anyone, that it takes a year, 4 years, 5 years to get to some.
So what you've described, if you want to go into the details of your scenario, right? What you've described, Council McCoy, Member McCoy, is, all right, Mike is the leasing party and Ryan is the owner. And then Mike turns around and leases, because there's 4 bedrooms in there, right? One to Susan, one to the mayor, right down the road. All 4 rooms
Not
are,
the Weaver.
but not to Weaver, Brianne, okay. But, you know, Mike's like, well, I'm pretty slick. I won't have a lease. I'll just tell them they can live there and you guys pay the utilities and maybe you pay me $100 a month, maybe you don't. Okay, so what you have just described is a 1 lease, 1 family unit under 10 dash, I mean, like whatever it's subsection 3, 1 family lease. And that particular section says no subleases. What you've described is a situation where there is a sublease. Even though you don't call it, like I don't have a lease paper, the facts of what you've just described are subleasing, okay? If what you're saying is, okay, I'm gonna just lease, each one of them are going to give me, we're gonna have a separate lease for each room, that's a boarding house. And that'll be zoned and regulated by zoning, and we'll need a lease, individual lease for each one of those rooms. If you're living there too, that is called a lodging house. So those are kind of the scenarios of the facts that you're going to be looking at.
Yeah.
In addition to all of the compliance with all of the normal Clive codes. So if you're just talking about the structure of who's living there and how, I mean, you know, yeah, lawyers love to work the hypothetical so that we can get around it. But I feel like the revisions that they're being proposed here are so thorough that we're going to be okay to hit most of those fact patterns now. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps. And again, if we have to revisit it again in a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever, we'll do it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
What was I? Number 3, the group also asks that we codify language that clarifies basic duties of the owner and basic tenant obligations. So we added that to the code and we just used what the Iowa code had in there for obligations of the owner and the tenant. And we added that to our code. The reason we added that to our code is because we were getting some push from the rental owners in the group to help them clean up the insides of the units, right? The International Property Maintenance Code says, yeah, you've got to have a clean place there. But before we just walk in and say, you live the way you want to live, and we would go in and do the safety inspection, then we'd leave. The owners wanted some help in getting those areas cleaned up. Now, remember, any violation or notice of infraction is going to be detailed to that owner. Okay, doesn't make sense. They want our help with cleaning it up, but they're the ones who are going to be under the the fix-it situation. But what we're finding out is if that goes to court because they want it, the owner wants to evict them for not holding up their end of the lease of keeping a clean apartment, the city authorizing or supporting or issuing a notice of violation is the support that those owners need to get the eviction done in a quick manner. From what we were told, the owners, they indicated the missing piece of that puzzle is the city on our side on that. And again, you know, it's eye of the beholder on some of that stuff, but the expectation is if we're here to help the owners clean it up, you know, if that's their unit, their ownership, we have the code that says clean it up, we're going to step in and help them get it done. It's not gonna be every single one of them unless they ask, you know, if the owner doesn't need it, we won't help. Okay. Next, we wanted to provide relief from solely battery operated wireless interconnected smoke alarms. Reason being, we were in front of you to get an exception to that. We wanted to pull that back and only require the battery detectors to have the sealed batteries, not the interconnection piece. The group also wanted to provide a means to enforce repairs in a timely fashion. Again, rent abatement is a great tool that we've worked with the attorney to get that as part of our enhancement in the toolbox for enforcement. And that is going to go against the owner when situations arise where that owner is not making a house safe, or they're not providing a utility to the service or to the home. We have the means to be able to tell that tenant they don't have to pay rent for that. Okay. And then additionally, staff felt it was very important to expand our enforcement toolbox. So what we've done is we've set up a tiered penalty approach, still working with the attorneys on the correct tuning of that. But what it's ultimately going to look like is we're going to have some things like code compliance meeting. That'll be one of the first steps where we all sit down and we talk about the violations that are occurring. Basically, this is your last chance. Let's get an agreement in place. If you're having illegal parking on the street, maybe you can fit more cars in the driveway. If you clean out your garage and get two in the garage, get two in the park, you know, in the parking. So we're going to have that code compliance meeting. Another component is we've got 3 different sanctions that we're get them put in that box. One of them is a reduced term rental certificate. So instead of 2 years, you're now paying every 1 year, and we're doing inspections every 2 years. So we're going to be there more frequently checking on this situation where they've had quite a few violations, whether it be not mowing their grass, not shoveling their snow, parking illegally, not making the correct fixes on the house that are necessary to abide by the code. Okay, so reduced term rental certificate, that'll be number 1. Then we have suspension, we have revocation. Again, the city is not going to be in the business of kicking people out of their houses. That's not what this does. But we're going to have the tools there. So if it comes down to it, where we got a wild house where we just can't get the owner to control it, we've got a means to run by our building codes appeal board, and they can be the ones to hear out both the owner and the tenants, listen to the building official, talk through the scenario, and they can decide what is the best sanction for this property. And that final ruling then will get turned over to the attorney to handle the eviction side of things, if that's necessary. Any questions on that? Okay, lastly, the tenant and owner education. We connected with some different companies through this past year. Home Inc. was one of them. Carrie Wiederman came in and met with us. Has a ton of information and ton of help that we can use as a resource here. Already, they've offered up 3 different classes, 2 for the tenants, 1 for the owners, free of charge, that we were able to push out over email, and hopefully some of our tenants and some of our owners attended that class. But just having 3 classes that cover the rights and responsibilities of both sides of the fence there, to me was a win. Just getting those connections and getting those set up, and that's going to continue. They also have a property manager workshop that they held. They have a free tenant and owner official handbook. Basically, it's the Iowa tenant and owner law written in the handbook form, and it gives some various examples. That is free of charge as well, that they're offering up to help us out to give to our tenants and our owners. They also have HUD certified counseling services, again, free for folks who are looking to get into a rental or move from a rental to home ownership. That, you know, those types of tools are great to have as we continue the program. We've also set up connections with John Mendoza over at Indian Hills. The network was established to pull in some more of the complaints that maybe don't make it to our office. Students, the students there, the small kids, they want to talk about things. So the teachers have picked up on some bed bug situations and maybe some unhealthy living situations. And we've been able to dial in off of that to get a couple of corrections made and make it a better situation. Okay, but the school has been a great communication piece as well. So when we got those 3 flyers for those 3 programs, we sent to the school and we said, hey, whoever you have emails for in this jurisdiction, send it out. Let's try to get them there. Back to school bash too. I haven't made one yet. I've been on vacation the last couple of years, but great resource for our rental housing and the schools and the kids and the neighborhoods. Other outreach opportunities that we haven't locked in yet, Clive Community Services, that's a huge one. Salvation Army, the food pantry, that's another great resource that we're looking forward to establishing a relationship with. Chin Church was another one. Liam's great over there. He'd be willing to help us out on the Chin community and get some communications to that those clients as well. Finishing up the last couple slides here. We have a couple of opportunities that the staff is going to continue to work on as we roll out this new program. We thought it would be important to have a neighborhood guide to rental housing. So not only tenants and owners, but maybe neighbors who live next to a rental. Maybe they want to find out a little bit more information about the rental and what our rules are in the city. And then also providing contact information to those owners as well in the event they have a complaint or a certain situation that they want to remain anonymous. We'd have that available for those owners. Tenant and owner official handbook. Again, that was Home Inc. They have that provided. Now they only have it in 2 languages. We're going to work together with them and hopefully get some multilingual booklets made up with some of the various languages spoken in our rental community. Crime-free multi-housing. We did have a fire department and police department. We had a meeting that we sat down and went through kind of what would be best for the programming. Again, we've had the crime-free multi-housing program for a while now. It's more multi-housing and it's a volunteer. It's voluntary. If the owners want to be part of that program, they certainly can sign up. And then also there is a crime-free lease addendum that we're going to have available to the owners. And what that does is basically it locks that tenant and that owner into a more secure lease in the event something happens where the tenant, I don't know, maybe gets convicted of some kind of issue that owner could get them out of there fairly quickly due to that lease addendum. Okay. That's it.
Questions?
Move to close public hearing.
Second.
Motion second, to close public hearing. Before we do so, is there anyone in the chambers who wishes to address us on this matter or anyone online?
Yeah.
Well, please come forward to the podium then.
My name's Mike Wright, and I live about 2 houses down from one of these properties that are a one-off. I just want to say that I want to thank you. I came in here just to see. I knew this was going on through some other people in the neighborhood and stuff, and that this was going to happen. I know Ryan a little bit. I am a building inspector for another community. I've been a building official. I've been in rental programs. I've been in code enforcement. I've been a fire department. So I've been around a while. Just saying thank you for looking at this. Because even though it's only a one-off, the neighbors that are around one of these when they go downhill is so detrimental to your community. It's just amazing what happens. Seeing in some of your stuff in here with the lengths of time for you're doing inspections, and he's right, your hands are tied a lot of the time. So I just want to thank you for going through this process. It looks like you're on top of it. You understand what's going on. And just want to appreciate that, keep doing it. Because there's a lot of people, and a lot of little kids in neighborhoods that are getting ruined by one of these properties. And I've been there, we moved in, it's probably been 4 years, so 3.5 years, we've been dealing with one that's crimes, the drugs, it's the cops, they know they've been there all the time. It's just an unsafe condition. So thank you for taking a look at this, and I hope you continue to work on it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chamber or anyone else online? No one online? Please come forward.
Hi, my name is Jessica Dietz. I live at 1833 Northwest 80th Place. I live next door to one of these one-offs as well. What I'm asking from you as the council is some enforcement. I fully support, Ryan and I have been talking for a while. I fully support the added measures and the toolbox that he has provided, but the house next door is still advertising as a 2-week rental. There's constantly people in and out. All of the neighbors, or a lot of us, have had to install security cameras. We've witnessed drug deals, public urination, inappropriate gestures, trespassing. At one point, he had a registered sex offender living there and then let a dad and his child moved in. The dad didn't even know about it. So he doesn't do any background checks. And then my understanding is this particular owner has been providing a single lease, but he is including everybody's name on it, but people are still moving in and out. So what I'm asking from you, and I know there's a few other neighbors here, is some enforcement, some pretty heavy enforcement, because we are putting our children and family at risk, big time. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and let everyone know there's been conversation and direction from the council to pursue the heaviest enforcement remedies that we can. And we have done that. And there is a judgment and an order that was entered from the court this week. So pending any appeal rights, we'll continue down the direction that the council has given me and pursue all of those remedies available. If anyone has specific questions about that legal case or the order or what's maybe available for our remedies, I'm happy to talk to you separately. And the council has any other questions about that, you can let me know. It is public record if anyone wants to try to find that themselves.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Roxana Bental, and I live at 1782 Northwest 80th Place. So I'm on the other side of the boarding house that we have that Jessica just mentioned. The other big issue that we have is, and I'd like to preface this by saying I'm all about helping people who need help, who are in low-income situations. I remember years ago having, when I was younger, celebrating having some money left in my checking account. So I want to let you know I get that. But this owner has not taken care of the whole situation of parking. We have it stacked up and it's on a hill. I know they've just put in another sign that helps, but traffic doesn't slow down. We're a cut through street, same as Harbach, which we're right perpendicular to. So we just asked too if you would deal with the parking situation, having cars stacked up and then you face head-on traffic. And that's a safety issue for most of the people that live on the street or cut through it. So I've had some close calls and myself, and I know other people have too. So thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to expand any further, indicating that we've done everything we can possibly do to date? You
Myself,
or
Your
Matt?
Honor. With respect, I'll defer to the city staff with respect to the parking situation, as that did not raise to a legal violation remedy. But if there are other comments from staff, I'll defer to them.
Yeah, no, happy to address that. We have heard the parking concerns from the neighborhood. We did install some signage to indicate there was a hill ahead, blind hill. requesting a lower speed limit in that area. Prior to installing those signs, we did some temporary no parking just to see what would happen with the parking in the neighborhood and where it would spread, just to get a feel for that. Our focus from a staff perspective and as legal counsel laid out is really going to the source of the problem, which we feel is the house itself, creating the additional parking in the neighborhood. And so with this recent court judgment, again, pending appeal, our hope is that we can address the source and then hopefully the symptoms resolve along with that, because we did not have an issue previously. So our focus has been that versus setting a precedent for putting permanent no parking in a neighborhood, because we have a lot of examples across the community of these kinds of situations where we have blind hills in residential neighborhoods. And we just didn't feel comfortable from a staff perspective of going that far yet until the court case could get resolved.
Thank you, Matt. So just to sum up, it's been a problem that the city's been working on for many, many months because of the complexity of the issue. And that once the steps are taken and we have a final legal outcome, that we expect the other problems to be resolved.
And I would agree with that. And what I would add to it, though, Your Honor, is that this is just one piece of that particular issue, as Ryan alluded to, is the rental housing code is one piece of it. The zoning code is another component of it that I know staff is working on to bring back in terms of the use aspect in a single family neighborhood. So whereas this isn't necessarily the silver bullet that we're talking about today in terms of these enforcement solutions, because again, as we talked about earlier, there's a lot of different avenues and circumstances that, and a lot of different facts that can be challenging for enforcement. Your staff is looking at every avenue that at least available to us, with this one being one piece, and then some zoning code potential modifications being the next piece to come later this year.
And I will add, Your Honor, that we have a pretty robust remedy. We have some pretty robust remedies available because these have been extreme violations. And there is a general right to rent and to, have rental properties in the city. And unless we wish to, from a policy perspective, remove that, we will deal with each of these individual ones in this way.
And as Ryan alluded to, our remedies have been limited by the legislature, so we're doing everything we can within our legal options.
That's true. When Ryan mentioned, a few years ago, back in 2018, the state legislature amended Iowa Code 414, which prohibits the city from regulating and on these rentals based on familial unit. So you cannot, there can be multiple families or multiple people in a home. That's state law. That's not something you can all change. But we can address these symptoms, and we have all of that is pending, like I said, at the utmost extent of the remedies that are available. And these code changes will only help to enable that for the future.
Thank you very much. Other comments? Any other comments from the public or from the council?
I will just add, Your Honor, this is the first reading. There are a few legal tweaks that will come through in a red line for your next reading. Just clarification of definitions for the most part. I don't see any substantive changes at this point, but we would welcome comments or concerns as we go into the second reading.
Very good. Further discussion? If not, would the council please vote, and will the clerk please post that vote? So the public hearing is now closed.
Would move that ordinance number.
Sorry, Mike hasn't voted yet. Let's take it.
And public hearing is closed by a vote of 5-0 for the record.
Okay, move that ordinance number 1172, having been considered by the council, be voted on for passage prior to its final adoption.
Second.
Motion and a second for the first reading. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote, and will the clerk please post that vote? And that passes by a vote of 5-0. Thank you, Ryan. Liz. We have a public hearing. Did we publish the appropriate public notice?
This public hearing notice was published in the Des Moines Register on September 12th, 2025.
Thank you. Liz.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we've been really busy working on our TIF capital improvement planning borrowing for FY '26. This action tonight will approve the intent to enter into a lease agreement. And the entire 2025B borrowing is for the Alice's Road right-of-way and also reconstruction project. The timeline was in your memo. However, this morning, we just had our bond rating call with Matt and Suzanne from PFM and myself. So we hope to get something out to you in the next week or so on that. And you can see in our next meeting, we will set the public hearing for the sale. And you'll also get a copy of the preliminary statement.
Very good. Questions for Liz?
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion second to close public hearing. Before we do so, is there anyone in the chamber or online who wishes to address us during the public hearing? Seeing none, would the council please vote, and will the clerk please post that vote? And the public hearing is closed by a vote of 5-0.
I'll move to resolution taking additional action on proposals to enter into a GO urban renewal loan agreement.
Second.
Motion second on the resolution. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote? And that passes by a vote of 5-0. Thank you, Liz. Next up, we have a public hearing on City Hall Phase 2. Did we publish the appropriate public notice?
Public hearing notice was published September 8th, 2025.
Very good. Thank you. Matt?
Thank you, Your Honor. Tonight we have a public hearing. This is the rebid of prime contract number 2 for the City Hall Phase 2 remodel project. As the council's aware, your previous 2 meetings ago, we awarded 4 construction contracts. This one that makes up 5 in total for the Phase 2. This is the last remaining contract. We rebid this because we only received 1 bid initially for this component of the work. With the rebidding that occurred on September 11th, we received 3 bids, all very competitive bids. The lowest bidder was just a little bit under our construction manager's estimate, and that was with Elite Glass and Metal. We're very familiar with Elite Glass. They worked on the Clive Public Safety Center for this same work. So we're very familiar with their work and happy with their work and would recommend award to the responsible lowest bidder, Elite Glass.
Very good. Questions for Matt?
Matt, glad to see that did come in 12% below the estimate. So really like to see that. Move to close public hearing.
Second.
Motion second to close public hearing. Further discussion or anyone in the chambers or online to address us? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will the clerk please post those votes? And the public hearing is closed by a vote of 5-0.
Move the receipt of bids.
Second.
Motion is second to receive the bids. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote, and will the clerk please post that vote? Bids are received by a vote of 5-0.
Move to award the construction contract bid package number 2 to aluminum frames and glazing, Elite Glass and Metal for $135,370.
Second.
Motion is second to award the contract. Further discussion? Seeing none, would the council please vote, and will the clerk please post that vote? Contract award passes by a vote of 5-0. The next public hearing has to do with the tower lease. Did we publish the appropriate public notice?
Public hearing notice was published in the Des Moines Register on September 8th, 2025.
Very good. Thank you. Jeff?
Mayor, Council, good evening. T-Mobile currently has a lease on our tower at the 104th Street location. That lease expires in 2026. So getting out ahead of it, they've came to us to see if they're going to be able to continue to stay on it. We've been working on a lease agreement with them for quite some time. Legal's been involved in the review with us, getting it worked out to where we currently have it. We did a survey of the neighboring communities and what they were charging for their leases on towers, and find it to be what we're proposing to be one of the higher ones in the metro area currently. We feel that we got about a 20% increase over our last amount from the previous contract. So the amount we're very happy with. This does include two options for another continuation. Those options come with, based on the CPI, of anywhere between 15 with a cap of 20%. So if we decide to continue them, we will get a minimum of 15, a maximum of 20 on those
Those
leases.
mutual agreements or mutually agreed extensions or sold by
Yes,
them?
mutually agreed. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the proposed lease.
You do automatic renewals. Thank you, Jeff. Questions for Jeff?
I'm going to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion second to close public hearing. Further discussion? Is there anyone in the chamber or online? No one. Would the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote? And the public hearing is closed by a vote of 5-0.
Move to resolution approving the Second Amendment to tower lease with option with T-Mobile.
Second.
Motion second on the resolution. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote? Oh, no, I know how it's gonna happen. And that passes by a vote of 5-0. Amanda?
Good evening. Tonight, my first item before you is a site plan amendment for the Parks Maintenance Facility that is located within the Campbell Recreation Area. The request is for a lean-to style extension onto one of the buildings. It's an 18 by 88 foot addition. It's a shed roof that'll come off the back. You can see the project location is indicated on the plan there. And then the red line identifies the area where the building, the lean-to portion will be constructed. It is an enclosed building, both sides and the front wall is enclosed, and there will be overhead doors and a man door. And it does have a shed style roof. It's more the lean-to style though, because it will be pure footings. It's not insulated or have any like mechanical installed in the area. And it is for the purpose of storage. It's over an area that is currently asphalt and being used for outdoor storage. So essentially what is sitting out there today is equipment that will now be undercover to protect it from the elements and extend the lifespan of those items. The exterior material is a metal siding that is not in keeping with the development standards manual for like commercial areas. However, this is behind an existing privacy fence and already like within the maintenance yard. So staff did not have concerns with that in this case. Planning and Zoning Commission did consider the site plan amendment at their previous meeting, and we did have one resident in attendance at that meeting. She raised some comments regarding stormwater management questions, as well as some questions about traffic flow through the parking lot and if this would have any impacts on that. In response, Parks is going to add additional gutter across the long portion of the building to tie in with the existing. So otherwise, there are no other changes to the site. It should be a relatively small impact for the area. Planning and Zoning did recommend approval, and staff would also recommend approval.
Questions for Amanda?
What's
Go ahead.
construction project on this look like and costs associated with it, Amanda?
I'll have to lob that one to Richard.
That was my question.
The hope is construction can be completed by the end of the year, pending approval of the council tonight. Cost, I believe, was just under $50,000 for all of it.
Is this an internal construction project? Are we bidding it out or?
Yeah, it'll be bid out and will be done by a contracting for a company that specializes in this type of work.
Other questions for Richard? Otherwise, what we're looking for is just
Move approval.
Second.
motion second to approve the site plan amendment. Further discussion? Seeing none, would the council please vote, and will the clerk please post that vote? And that is approved by 5-0. Next up, Amanda.
Yeah, Yes. Next item, we have the proposed ordinance 1166. It is a zoning ordinance amendment that will allow for commercial entertainment uses in the C4 district. Bringing that in line with the uses that are allowed in our other commercial and industrial areas. There have been no comments from the public or changes since the first consideration and public hearing, and staff would recommend approval.
Questions for Amanda?
I'll move that ordinance number 1166, having been considered by the council, be voted on for passage prior to its final adoption.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote? And that passes by a vote of 5-0. Next one.
Next, we have the second consideration of ordinance 1171 that will allow for the division of taxes within the 86th Street area of the urban renewal plan. So with that, there have been no changes since the first consideration. You all have already approved the urban renewal plan amendment, and with that, staff would recommend approval.
Questions for Amanda?
I'll move that ordinance number 1171, having been considered by the council, be voted on for passage prior to its final adoption.
Second.
Motion and a second for the second reading. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote, and will the clerk please post that? That passes by a vote of 5-0. Thank you, Amanda. Matthew, you've got a few ordinance here. Tell us.
The last four ordinances that are on the agenda tonight are the ones that came as a result of the recent legislative changes. There have been no public comments since the first reading, and there's been no staff comments or concerns, and we recommend moving forward with all four of them.
Questions for Matthew or action?
Move that ordinance number 1167 have been considered by the council be voted on for passage prior to its final adoption.
Second.
Motion and a second for the second reading. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote, and will the clerk please post that vote? Second reading passes by a vote of 5-0. Next up, we have 1168.
Move that ordinance number 1168 have been considered by the council be voted on for passage prior to its final adoption.
Second.
Motion and a second on 1168. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote, and the clerk please post that vote? That passes by a vote of 5-0. On to 1169.
I move that ordinance number 1169 have been considered by the council be voted on for passage prior to its final adoption.
Second.
Motion second on 1169, second reading. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote? That passes by a vote of 5-0.
And I'll move that ordinance number 1170 having been considered by the council be voted on for passage prior to its final adoption.
Second.
Motion second for a second reading of 1170. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote? That passes by a vote of 5-0. Thank you, Matthew. We have some fall brush collection correspondence. Anything else in the correspondence?
That's all.
Well, we'll start with the reports down on your end, Pete.
Thank you, Your Honor. First, a report on where we sit with the special census. The special census, it is self-reporting period. Today is the last day when you're able to do that. So we appreciate some local media coverage that we received after we sent out a press release yesterday about this being the last day to participate. Good news is we've exceeded what the standard that the Census Bureau likes to achieve with self-reporting. They like to get to about 41.5%, and we are, as of yesterday, are at 46. So hopefully we'll push that number up even further tonight and have even better numbers to share with you all tomorrow or shortly thereafter. That last, some really good news that Matt had shared earlier in this month, but we recently received notice that we received what used to be called the Voice of the People Award, now called the Trust in Governance Award, or Best in Governance Award, awarded to communities that have used the National Community Survey, which we use every 2 years. This year, we were recognized as one of the top 5 communities for trust in governance. So that's the category that includes keeping people informed, acting in the best interest of the community, and a number of other factors. As an example, when we did the survey back in 2024, Clive ranked number 1 out of 330 peer communities for overall confidence in municipal government. That's just one of many examples from that section of the survey. So we're happy to put a release out about it this afternoon. And we expect to get us more earned media because of the wonderful feedback we received from Clive residents. And that will be included also in your Friday email from Matt.
Very good. Anything else, Pete?
No, Your Honor.
Very good. Bree?
Nothing to report.
Ted?
Real quick, MPO, MPO staff wanted us to remind all the communities that we have a data bike available that can be used at no cost to any of the communities. And that data bike does provide basically what we would consider PCI information for our trails. And so all we need to do is just put in a request, and if it's available, we can get it. We get someone from Parks, or heck, I'll write it and you just ride up and down the trail and get that
We should
data.
have you do that.
Yeah,
actually.
I could do it. Just want to remind us that that's available for us to use for our Greenbelt to do a better assessment on its condition. And then Clive Community Foundation met today, the board met, and we're on track for being issuing out some grants to some worthy applicants, and that will probably be in early December. And I'll make sure everybody knows about that, so that if you want to attend that, it's always a very rewarding event to come and see those very worthy recipients receive those grants from CCF. So that's it.
Very good. Thanks, Ted. Eric?
Yeah, a couple of things, Mayor. Attended the Dallas County Emergency Management Committee. We talked about further collaboration with Polk County and what we're doing with our storm plan. Also attended the Clive Chamber of Commerce Annual Business Luncheon. That's it, Mayor.
Very good. Susan?
You've probably seen an invitation show up in your inbox regarding a special breakfast that Bravo is hosting coming up on December 8th to just inform community representatives about activities. That'll be at the Blank Park Zoo. So save the morning of December 8th. And then I've reported before about our transition from the Polk County Homeless Coordinating Council to the Housing Solutions Alliance. And the executive director has been announced. It's Doug Romig, who's returning to Des Moines, had been with the Parks and Recreation Department and had done a good amount of work with housing before. And our governing group, of which I'm a part, is meeting with him for lunch tomorrow. So looking forward to getting things launched.
Very good. Thanks, Susan. Mike? A couple things. Had the opportunity to attend the Des Moines Partnership Summit this year. It was a great program. Good speaker with some great data that we should get those files, bring them in and share, at least with staff seeing those from the speaker in the morning. Also attended, it was an all week of Greater Des Moines Partnership, because the next day I had another meeting with them, and then the following day we had a meeting here with them as well on the investors engagement piece with them, with the partnership. Also, WRA met. We discussed about the governance and the operating agreement that's coming up. That's coming quick. This council will need to attempt to vote on that by the end of this year to get that going. And so we will be voting on the operating agreement first, I believe, and then the governance. But I have made a clear statement that the operating agreement and the governance must be signed together. There cannot be an operating agreement without the 28E being revamped first.
Is the governance changing?
It is. It is. So there are going to be quite a few changes in the governance. The 28E is opened back up, and it's going to come down to, Matt can probably speak. He had a lunch on this yesterday or day before.
Yesterday.
Yesterday, and with all the city managers. But it will be swinging a bit further away from all things Des Moines to more of a model that's, getting closer to a DART, MWA, that type of scenario rather than kind of the Des Moines model. Some things will be the same, but those need to be signed together. The only leverage we have on the 2080 is the operating, which they want very badly, right? Because they operate. And I don't know if Matt has anything else, but that is a tight timeline for us to get that thing reviewed internally, get it to the board, and then get it back out to every council, because as you know, 2080s have to be then agreed on by 90% of the councils is the rule for WRA, and that's 90% of flow, right? So quicker they get to the 90% of flow voters, it'll pass. That is it.
I can add to Councilmember McCoy's comments. Yeah, we had a presentation by WRA's legal counsel. So here over the last, it's been about a year, 18 months that the WRA board has had its own legal counsel, now separate from the Des Moines City Attorney's Office. And Rick Baum presented what some of the key aspects of the updated 2080 and operating agreement. Again, concur with Councilmember McCoy. I think these are recognizing that the WRA is very much grown up now as a regional organization, and looking to the future in terms of what that organization could look like. Reporting responsibilities as a WRA director, which is also very timely because we have a retirement coming with the current WRA director, which is public knowledge now. And so there'll be a transition happening here at the end of the year. There is, over the next couple of months, October, November, the WRA board will be approving the final form of these agreements. The 2080 agreement, most importantly, the operating contract is approved by the WRA board with the city of Des Moines. The 2080 agreement needs to be approved by all the member communities. And that there'll be a presentation, example resolution, a lot of materials that will be produced. Again, this has been vetted pretty thoroughly, or continues to be vetted pretty thoroughly by WRA's legal counsel, as well as city attorneys, Des Moines City Attorney's Office. And so we don't see, if we're getting to a good place on that. There's still some a few small outstanding items that they're still working through on the final form. And I would anticipate being able to share, probably as a discussion item or just high level at your November meeting, where we're at with this, because the WRA board will have met probably just right or that same week of that council meeting, and then bringing it forward to you again, pending any issues that may arise for the December council meeting. Their target again is the end of the calendar year, but that isn't an end all deadline. They do have contingencies, plan Bs if it goes into 2026. So very positive changes that we're seeing, some changes in how weighted voting is handled and board representation. I think they've learned or looked at some of the lessons from some of our other regional entities of trying not to get to a 30-40 count board in terms of how that can get pretty unwieldy. I know the MPO had the same conversation a few years ago. I think WRA is trying to learn from that in terms of making sure we right size the board and to make sure obviously you all are asked to attend a lot of regional agencies and board meetings, and making sure we're not overtaxing the elected officials at the same time. So I think we're getting to a good balance. And I think for a community like Clive, where we're in a position that we're transitioning from an expansion community to a kind of a core community, has been a key aspect, as we'll talk about when we get to the sewer cash flow and how that drives our debt numbers, which of course, the WRA, one big aspect of this 2080 agreement, probably I would argue the largest component of a new 2080 agreement is increasing the debt limit availability to the WRA from about 660 million to 900 million. Now they have a CIP that really reflects those needs. But again, that's just something that you don't take lightly, right? And it's something that's a very important vote with any regional entity, especially one that's, has a CIP that's, pushing $1 billion. But again, the needs are there and laid out. And I know the board has been discussing that pretty extensively over the last couple of years. So optimistic about where we're headed on that. I think that it's a tight time frame, but at least what I've seen so far, realistic time frame.
I will add that, because of the speed that this is going to go through here in the next 2 months, for your sake, this has been vetted for a long time. So I've been on a committee. I'm the chair of the board. You have Chelsea up in Polk City as the vice chair, and Brad Dietz in Waukee as the secretary, and then past chair is Sarah Kravowski. We've all been on this committee studying this extensively. And as well as the CIP coming up at $1 billion. And then you've had EJ Giovanetti and Jody Smith really leading this with legal counsel and the city of Des Moines. So it will be extremely well vetted by the time it gets to your desk, and it will be, and I think it is at that point. We're just changing semantics at this point, not really substance for the city of Des Moines. It's a lot to dive into, and so some of it, feel free to read it, but know that it has been looked at and looked at and looked at, and it's the best we're going to get. And it moves the needle quite a bit, I think, from where we were. I mean, Des Moines used to have 5 or 6 board members. It's insane, right? So we'll be moving that back. So. That's good. Anything else, Mike?
I do have one item for legal counsel, I guess, highlight. Just wanted to keep everyone aware that issues of open meetings and open records are still a hot topic around the state of Iowa. And in particular, wanted to just let you all know that the University of Iowa Technology Law Clinic, for example, we just responded to an open records request from them regarding our flock system. It was a pretty robust request. So I just want to kind of put that all on your radar, that we are a very active records requesting community and state. And if you have any other questions about that, I can talk to you about that.
I don't see Iowa State doing that.
Drake would, yeah.
Thank you. Matt.
Thank you, Your Honor. A few items this evening. Just a reminder, next Tuesday, we'll have an artist reception. You've been sent that invite at 5 o'clock on September 30th. We'll have the artist coming in from Toronto, Brad Hinson, who is doing the art piece with Greenbelt Landing. So he will be here on site. We are inviting all the stakeholders involved with that art piece. NCMIC, who's a funder, Bravo and Icon, who are also funders. Our public arts, Parks, Recreation, Public Arts Board will be in attendance, all invited to that event to meet him. And then the next day he will be on site talking with the construction managers, lining up some subcontractors for his portion of the work. We're getting everything primed to it and around it, and that work will continue with completion next spring. So excited for that. Budget and CIP processes at the staff level have been kicking off here over the last couple of weeks. And we'll be sending an invite to the council for November 20th as the date for the CIP workshop. That will be here in this room. That is the night where we go through over a couple of hours, sometimes almost 3 hours, your extensive capital improvements program. We'll have a meal for you as well. Also, wanted to circle back one item that we didn't get to at strategic planning that I know Councilmember Klein brought up, and I wanted to make sure we circled back on, is the naming associated with the community building at Greenbelt Landing. In my update to you last week, I suggested a few names and some ideas that staff had generated of potential names for that facility. Wanted to circle back with the council on that with an idea. I know I've gotten some feedback on those suggested names, but my thought would be is, I know I've talked with the mayor about this a little bit and Richard as well, that if we could come to maybe a consensus on 3 or 4 names, that would be of agreement to the council. Perhaps we have a community vote on the final name. Some examples that we've included is Greenbelt Pavilion, Greenhouse, Landing Hall, Creekside Pavilion, the Canopy, because of the patio will have, as you kind of see over there now, kind of has a canopy structure over the patio, which is a new addition. The Oxbow Pavilion, because this is the Oxbow region of the Greenbelt. Creekside Hall has some examples. So If the council is comfortable with that, staff could develop a short list of those items, 3 or 4, and look to put it up to kind of a community vote, get some community engagement on that if that's what the council desires, or I'd be happy to take any other direction otherwise. But that's just an idea that we wanted to pitch to you all and get your feedback.
I like that.
Yes, that works for me.
Good idea.
And narrowing that down to 3 or 4 would be done how?
What I would suggest is if the council is passionate about a few of those on the list, please send those to me. And my guess there'll probably be some overlap, and we'll use that to narrow down the list. We have a little bit of time to lock in that name before we order that particular signage for the facility. Correct, Richard? We have a little bit of time there. The other signage is more time sensitive because there's structures associated with it. So we've got a little bit of time, but if the council wants to give me your feedback off of that list, or maybe some other names we might not be considering, I will come back to you with a proposed list from that feedback and get it out to the community for a vote.
I think everyone was nodding, so.
Everybody's good with that? Last item I have, Your Honor, is I will be out of the country October 4th through the 18th, and Pete will be serving as your acting city manager during that time. And
He looks
and
worried.
nothing will happen. Nothing will happen.
So prepare for a snowstorm or a fireworks revisit.
And I will be missing the next council meeting. That's all I have, Your Honor, unless you have any questions, unless you want me to get up in the middle of the night from Japan. So.
Yes. Anything else for the good of the order this evening? Hearing and seeing none, we'll adjourn at 7:26.